welcome back to another vlog. If you haven't seen the last vlog that I posted, you should go watch because that explains where all of this fabric came from. But what I am doing right now is I am starting to organize it, and I'm doing that by basically separating it into 3 different piles. The first one on the far left of the screen is for the really large fabrics that are still in one big piece. The pile right next to it is for the fabric that it's still in a pretty decent sized piece, but it's significantly smaller than that first pile. And then everything else I am counting as scraps, and those I am just laying out, spreading out on the table, trying to match the like patterns because there were a lot of different patterns, but there was also a significant amount of repeating patterns that I could sort of group together. And now I'm going through and reorganizing all of the fabric that I just organized, but this time I'm organizing it by color. Why I thought that would be a good idea, I have no clue, but here we are. That took much longer than it needed to, but now, where did this come from? Okay, well, you just get to go over there. This is one of 3 totes of fabric. So what I've done is I've tried to organize it by color-ish. Hi vey, okay. That is fabric pile number 1. Now I think I need to start on one of the other fabric piles and figure out how exactly I'm gonna go about doing this, because I don't know. Now they are all back in this tub because I worked on the second tub. My goodness. So this tub, I did not film any of this because, as you can see, there are just so many little pieces everywhere. The first things in this tote were actually a lot of these, which are fully like quilted squares that need to be just sewn together to make a quilt. So I'll show you those in a while. But then a lot of what was in this were just like, there's these squares of fabric that go all the way back. There's all of these smaller squares of fabric. There's a bunch of these, like this is all just like loose material right here, but then there's like partially started quilts. So we have like this, where this is a really long runner that I could finish if I wanted to put it in the center of the table. And same with, I think there was a second one of that somewhere in all of this. Oh, right there. And then this is like a partially started quilt with all of these squares. So then you can look and see all of these squares and realize, oh, these were probably set aside to do something like this in. And there's like really large chunks of fabric like this that are together. And then so many squares that are like sewn together to make all of these larger squares. And like here's even larger ones right there. And then I have all of these triangle pieces. And like all of these rectangle pieces, I sort of just stacked on top of each other for space reasons. But these are all pieces that could be made into like these. And then all of these triangle pieces, there was these smaller squares and larger squares that you sew the triangles together like this, and then you sew those squares together like that, and you would make a whole quilt like that. So I am exhausted already. This is only like tote number 2, technically. I still have a whole nother tote I need to go through and organize and look through, but there is a lot of fabric. I am very excited for the amount of like material I have to work with, but it is a lot. I need to figure out a way that I want to store all of this now and then clear off the table so I can work on figuring out the 3rd bunch of fabric. All right, so I've kind of sort of organized these. I ended up grabbing the paper clips that I had and using them to kind of bunch some of these loose bits together. And they're not like purely by color. Some of them, like this one has green, blue, black, and white in it, but there were so few of all of those, I just put them all together. And then some of them are just one grouping of fabric because there's a lot of that particular fabric. Like this one there's a lot of that. So that actually has 3 paper clips in it. But I figured that would be a good way to keep them all together without them getting too crazy. And then everything else is just kind of stacked. But now I'm gonna work on breaking out that 3rd bag, which is right there on the floor. Okay, I've only just started pulling things out of this bag so far. I've just pulled out this big white blanket, but I wanted to show you guys these because I'm so excited about these. Grandma had so many of these that she started making for quilts, and what they are, they're squares that are cut. They already have the batting on the back of them, but it looks like she hand stitched all the way around all of the animals. So this rooster all the way around, and each one of these chicks, she hand stitched all the way around them, and she did that with all of these. So like this rooster is hand stitched all the way around, this Labrador, she's got this polar bear, and some of them have like a backing material on them, some of them are just the batting material. But I'm so excited because there's so many animals in here that she has, and they're all different like sizes and stuff too, so like I'm gonna have to add something to the outside of these to make them the same size as these bigger ones. But I'm so excited because this is going to be a beautiful quilt when it's done. And it's like there's that whole stack, but then one of the other bags, this whole stack right here, are those squares as well of animals, and I am so excited. All right. So before opening all of these bags that are just filled with scraps that I am going to open all of them and go through and organize them like a lunatic, but before I open those and enter the world of chaos, this whole container was pretty contained. There is this whole stack of just all of these awesome different colored and patterned fabrics. And we have all of these in there, and we had this, we had a whole bunch of white. I'm very excited about this. Now we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bags of cut fabric. And then we have these that are like doilies and more delicate type materials that I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with just yet. I might use them as guides to learn how to make my own, or I might incorporate them in something. I don't exactly know yet, but I'm pretty excited about those. All right, this is about as organized as I got this. You can see it's kind of by color. And what I'm going to do, I'm not gonna go through and like organize and like combine, like I think that fabric's the same as that fabric right there. I'm not gonna go through and combine those because I actually wanna wash all of this because it has been sitting for a while. So I wanna wash it to just kind of freshen it up. And all of these smaller pieces, we went to Goodwill and I bought this pillow, and the pillow has a zipper on it, so I can just take the inside out and put a bunch of the fabric in here to wash it, and that'll help keep it from fraying too badly or anything. And then also if some of this fabric is too old to really use, then the washing machine's gonna show that. So this is kind of what I'm working with. I have all of those little bits. I have all of that going on back there. Ignore the mugs. And then I have this overflowing tote full of fabric.